and are receiving treatment. On the other level, because of all the conspiracy theories that have swirled around about both of them for the last 6 months or so, would it not just be easier to say, these are the cancers they're battling? Why are they reluctant to do that?
I think while they're undergoing that treatment, they feel very strongly that they're entitled to a degree of medical privacy. And that's absolutely right. And
Is it right, though?
Palace,
Is it right?
I do think it's right.
If they want to be, they're both sides that they want to be role models to other people and inspire people. But how can you do that if you don't actually say what cancer you've got?
Well, one of the reasons is they don't then want people Googling and speculating about prognosis, for example. Yeah. And they want to be absolutely clear that they don't want that level of speculation.
But that's all going on.
It's not been ruled out. It's not been ruled out.
But that speculation is raging anyway because they're not saying.
But I don't think it would stop. It's much like the conspiracy theories. We've seen the Princess of Wales now. I don't necessarily think it means stop. Haters are going to hate. The conspiracy theories are going to go on. That is a whole industry in itself. But I think what we have had here is more transparency. And just look at the statement that was released by the Princess of Wales on Friday night. Deeply personal, very intimate, in fact, talking about those good days and those bad days, talking about the really hard times that she and William have been going through. Putting herself in the same shoes as others going through cancer, as those of you going through chemotherapy who've been through chemotherapy will know. And I think we have never seen that before. Yes, there's a point at which they want to stop, but actually she's giving a lot more than we might have expected.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, look, it was great to see her. I mean, I just thought, great. She's back in a carriage looking like a princess. She looked fabulous. But she did look pretty thin. She looked to me like she'd been through a really hellish time, probably, and was putting a very brave face on it, which was extremely commendable. Can't be easy to be in her position as a mother, first off, as a wife, and then discover that, you have to go out on parade when you're still having a treatment. It's not easy.
And you're out on parade knowing that everything you do in terms of a glance, catching your breath, is going to be pored over, speculated on, pulled apart. And this is, remember, whilst you are with your children. And so, to continue along with Sarah's vein where she says, actually, they do expect and should have, at a basic minimum, some respect for their private and family life.
OK, but I'm not convinced that if you're going to tell people we've both got cancer and you are the king and the future queen, I actually think that given the way the modern world is, given social media, given the rampant speculation, which is raging anyway, and I accept your point, it would anyway. There were ridiculous conspiracy theories about her teeth I saw on social media, as if somehow this was a fake Kate. It's ridiculous. So there are nut jobs out there. But the general conspiracy theories, they're going to get more fueled by less information. And I can't quite get my head around. If you want to make a real impact, then you need to be a little bit more specific to the cancer you've got, don't you?
No, you don't. The problem
well, if you've got breast cancer, it's not going to have any relevance to somebody who's got lung cancer. But that's my point, right? I mean, there's a kind. If you're more precise, you can be more, I think, more impactful to people who have exactly the same thing.
But that's because you and I are having a logical, calm and sensible conversation. You have to understand that Princess Kate and the royal family are not dealing with logical, sensible, calm people. They are dealing with people who are quite frankly crazy in their approach.
I'm not talking about the
what's going on. But not even the nut jobs.
No, but part the whack jobs to one side. Yeah. Let's ignore those.
We can
the ones who look at their teeth and say it's not
and we can then say...
I'm talking about generally...
But generally speaking, we are talking about a mother who wants to not frighten her children.
Yeah.
And if she gives over too much information to the public, they will take that information, even with the best of intentions, and they will run rife with it.
And I don't think that they're making a firm decision, we're never going to talk about this. I just think they're not talking about it now.
I'm sure.
And when they're a bit further down the line, it may well be that she does decide to reveal exactly what's going on.
But I think we can stop the platitudes. Oh, this is so helpful for others suffering with cancer. We saw when King Charles came out and said he was having treatment for enlarged prostate. Very specific. I bet Piers, being a man of a certain age, banged in enlarged prostate.
Actually, that's exactly what I did.
There you are.
Because I genuinely thought, oh, that's what he's got. Yeah. That's interesting.
Do I know the symptoms? Do I know how to recognise them?
That, to me, is really helpful. But if he hadn't said any of that, I'm not sure how helpful
Yeah, with vague cancer, what do? Feel my armpit, my breast, up under. The point is, I think most of us, you'd have to be pretty made of stone not to, feel a great deal of sympathy with Kate and those people who've been derailed midlife with a massive health scare will feel empathy for her. But I don't think these sort of ideas that it's really useful that she's shoulder to shoulder with other cancer sufferers, that doesn't really stack up for me.
Well, that leads me to the second part of this. Alison Pearson wrote a column in the Daily Telegraph, which got a huge backlash because the headline was, "Our Fair Lady, Princess of Wales's selfless display was the tonic Britain needed. When lesser mortals would have stayed at home, Catherine proved the show goes on." Now that, as I say, a lot of backlash. A consultant clinical oncologist, Clive Pedal, wrote on X, "As a cancer specialist, I find this level of journalism absolutely appalling. It's hard to know where to begin, where the lack of understanding of how cancer might affect people is this poor. I'm more than happy to explain to Alison Pearson why this is so bad." Someone else posted, "Lesser mortals. I'm going through chemo, still working, parenting, doing the housework, making my tea. I'm sick, in pain, worried about finances, scared. I'm glad Kate felt well enough to attend, but Alison Pearson can F right off." I get that because it was a very, I'll start with you, Tess, it was a very clumsy phraseology, I thought. I don't think she probably meant it the way it's been taken, but to call people lesser mortals because they weren't able to be in it.
Piers? Why do you think she didn't mean it? This is a very... I'm going to assume because of her job and how long she's been doing her job for, and sometimes the backlash she's received from other articles that she's written, that actually she's quite careful in terms of the language that she uses. So I'm going to have to question you on why you thought this was clumsy and that she didn't mean it.
Well, I don't know, is the honest answer. I'm giving her a little bit of licence and a sense of, when she said lesser mortal, she probably just meant, isn't she courageous for doing what she's doing? But the implication is, if you're not out there doing what she was doing, then somehow you are a lesser person. That, I can understand why that's so offensive to people.
Two things. One is, Alison Pearson is a certain breed of individual in this country who I think genuinely believes that the monarchy is in some way near a god. You know, that all that flummery, the bowing, the curtsing, that they do exist on a higher plane. I know that Kate was one day a commoner, but she's married into the royal family. And I think that Alison probably does have a kind of reverence that none of us, despite whatever we might do with our lives, could ever live up to simply by virtue of the fact she belongs to the House of Windsor. So yes, I do think she thinks everyone else relative to Kate probably is a lower mortal. But in relation to Kate delivered on Saturday in the way that some people with cancer aren't able to deliver, that's where these comparisons are dangerous. Kate is not having the same cancer experience as the giant majority of us. Now, I'm not saying she should, because she's got to go out in front of a million lenses and look like Liza Doolittle.
No, but it's perfectly reasonable, isn't it, Sarah, to say that she will be getting absolute Rolls-Royce treatment.
No waiting times.
Yeah.
No battling to get the top treatments that, you know, might give you a better chance.
And also massive help at
access
home.
and huge help at home, and also access to the very best medical teams that they are. And I think they are very conscious of that and mindful of that. And it's a difficult one to balance, isn't it? When the King first returned to work and they put out that statement that he wanted to show that it is possible to continue to work while having cancer, actually they were treading quite a fine line between, you know, those who don't feel able to work, also those who have had to continue to work for financial reasons and haven't been able to take that time out.
Let's be clear, that 99.9% of people who get cancer will have a completely different experience.
Absolutely.
Right? They're getting